Welcome to Be On It, episode 27.
Hey Jessica, what's going on in the beehive today?
Hi, Debbie. I was just thinking about death. What came across my mind recently was I thought I saw my sister in law who had passed. Somebody got out of their car, and I was just like, whoa, she looks just like my sister in law. And it just got me thinking about her passing and how sometimes we don't talk about our loved ones enough that passed. My sister in law, she's always on my mind. I've had dreams about her, and she left behind a 13-year-old son when she unexpectedly passed. It was just so shocking. She had a lot of medical issues, but I most certainly wasn't expecting her to pass away
Yeah.
at such a young age. She was in her early 40s and leave a 13-year-old son behind. It was shocking to the whole family. I think there was also some relief for my in-laws, dare I say, because she was difficult. I choose to look at the more positive sides because she's no longer here. She made life difficult for them. The fortunate thing was they were able to raise their grandson from 13 years on up. So he had, dependability, he had routine, which he wasn't getting with his mom. It was just a life of her medical issues. And so I was just thinking about all of that and her passing, and I had forgotten that her birthday was in November. And so when I saw this person that looked just like my sister-in-law, I just was like, whoa, all these memories came back.
When you saw that person that resembled your sister-in-law in that moment, did you get some positive vibes or was it just like goosebumps? Or
Well, it wasn't anything negative. It was definitely
it wasn't?
positive.
Okay, good.
She kind of was childlike too. I mean, she was difficult, but she was also childlike. During Christmas time, she would bring a movie for us to all watch or a fun activity. She brought a sense of fun in like a household that's not super fun.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, like open presents and eat some dinner and go home. So she
Mm-hmm.
brought a little bit of fun, even though she
Mm-hmm.
was super difficult. In her early days before she was super sick, she was a lot of fun. As she went through some trauma experiences and had some more medical issues, she was very difficult. My husband, he wasn't that close to her because she had always been difficult. They're about 4 years apart. I got along with her just fine. And, she could be hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But I tried to think about the positives, how fun she could be.
Yeah.
She left behind this beautiful boy who's now a young man.
Mhm. That must have been hard for her and obviously hard for him too. Hard for the whole family.
It was really hard for him. I think she had been sick, and I think his whole life was around surrounded by her sickness and her illnesses. And he didn't really grow up in a way that was normal for a child. It's like he didn't get to do sports, he didn't get to do all these things that normal kids get to do. I feel he didn't have a traditional childhood. He did once he hit 13 and up. My in-laws, they don't talk about her that often, and when they do, sometimes it's negative things, and I just try to say some positive things
Yeah.
because they've said some things in front of my nephew that I'm like, oh man, she's paid the ultimate price. She's no longer here. So can we not always say something negative? We know she was difficult.
Yeah.
Her son knows she was difficult,
Yeah.
but
Maybe,
that's
yeah.
also his mom.
Right, that's true. Ideally, we want to honor people's memory, right? To the
Well,
best of our ability. But at the same time, I can't honestly always say that I honor people's memory in a positive way. If you're dealing with a lot of stuff related to that person,
right.
the repercussions of, then sometimes the way you think of them or remember them isn't in the most positive and uplifting way.
And I think that's where they're at. I don't think that they had the most positive experience. And, I get that. I get that had she not had all these medical issues
Mhm.
and these traumas, I think she'd be a different person. I kind of saw through all of that and saw who she was. And who she was a very whimsical, fun soul.
Yeah.
That's where I choose to kind of look. I know she was hard and difficult. I get it. She didn't make life easy for them or her child. The way I like to see her and see her in dreams, she always tells me she's okay. I know she's better and I
Mhm.
have peace with that. It was weird somebody that looked similar to her.
Mhm.
It brought all these memories back. People don't always talk about loved ones that have passed
Yeah.
In my family and my husband's family, it's not like we go out to dinner and honor their birthday or their death passing. Every once in a while they get talked about, but not often enough. There's no celebration of who this person was. There was a couple memorial services for her. That's something I struggled with a long time. Her celebration of her first celebration of life felt very cold. And I know that, I just would have wanted things different for myself. And I told that to my spouse. I was like, "This is not the way I would want things to go if I passed."
Mhm.
And so, there was just all these things. Not only did she leave behind a son, she left behind a dog who has now
Mhm.
passed this year. And so I think there's some of that too, that there's this finality of her death.
Mhm.
There's this relief, which is taboo to talk about, but there was some relief
Yeah.
because there's no longer this difficult person that's
Mhm.
making everything difficult. Now my nephew can have routine, and he had routine, and he had things he got to try, and so he had some positive uplifting things that happened after his mom's passing,
Mhm.
and some hope. So yeah, I mean, it's mixed feelings, but
It is.
when I see her in dreams, it's always positive. Like, she's doing okay, she's healthy, she looks like her healthy self.
It's interesting to think about death because it's an obvious eventuality for all of us. We all are going to die at some point and not going to be here in the physical form. But yet, I don't know why we don't talk about it because it's going to happen with the passing of time or unexpectedly due to this, that, or the other health conditions, accidents, etc. It's definitely very much a taboo subject. And when we think about our loved ones who have already passed, I guess my only thing is I'm thinking like they have a lot of pain still. It was very painful, even though maybe it was a relief in some ways. The whole thing was just painful. I mean, obviously, for a child to die before their parents, that's one thing right there in and of itself. And then obviously they had to pick up the pieces from where she left off. I think the whole thing is just so super painful, and for some reason things get shrouded in negativity when it's a balance. It's like nobody lives a totally positive life. It's a mix of negative and positive, good and bad.
I agree with you, and with that being said, yeah, this wasn't their first loss. Unfortunately, they lost a child at 19 days old, a
Mhm.
son.
Mhm.
He was the second born. So my mother-in-law had 3 children, and my husband is the oldest, and Nathan was the middle child that died at 19 days old. And then there was Tiffany, who was the youngest, and they didn't really deal with that grief.
What about this? Is it possible that they're dealing with the grief, and because it was their child and the parent and their child died, is it
I think there's a lot of guilt, pain, trauma from not healing. You never get over losing a child. Like, I can't even imagine.
it'll be on your
Right,
mind every day?
right. You don't get over that. You never
No.
will. But you have to grieve. And I think they didn't have a choice. They didn't take the time to grieve. I think they were
Mhm.
trying to raise their son. They were doing the best they could. They were working and surviving. And I think it's all of that. I think that losing another child, it brought everything back. I just remember them when we did the second burial. She was right next to the child that they lost. She was
Mhm.
buried right next to him. I remember my father-in-law looking at my husband and going, "Now don't you die," with tears in his eyes. I just
Oh,
about lost it. So much sadness. My heart just went out to them, and I just had so much empathy because I have experienced a lot of death in my life. Grandparents, our family dog, family friends that have passed. When people die unexpectedly, it's so hard, and you wish you could have asked them all these things that you no longer can ask them, and you miss them, and you miss them when you have holidays or annual get-togethers, and there's no going back. You don't really talk about it much, but you think about it, in silence. It might be their birthday and you think about that, or it might be the holidays.
your mother and father-in-law might just need a good cry. Just like let it out. Like when
Yeah.
you just like hold things in and repress it, then you come across as being stoic and like not being very in tune with emotions and emotionality. Say what you feel and just get a good cry out. Like maybe you just not just once, maybe you have to do it a couple, two, three times, to like, because that's been pent up for years now. So they just need to let it go, because why not? Why not? Why not do that and like
I
be vulnerable, and just then that actually might help the next 10 years of your life. And um it just makes you feel more human. We're not machines. You know what I'm
right.
saying? We're humans. We have feelings, and they're in there. They just haven't made their way out, and they come across as a certain way because they've been repressed.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny that you say that because my mother-in-law just lost her best friend of 45 years, and I
Mm.
go, are you going to go see the family? She goes, no. She's
Wow.
had a daughter, a daughter that passed. So she's had to deal with that death, and then her best friend, who was an amazing lady, passed away from cancer that she'd been struggling with cancer for quite some time now. And
Mm.
I don't think my mother-in-law takes the time to grieve. And I said, it'd be good for you to maybe talk about it and get it out because it's good to grieve for loss. She was your close friend. And
Yeah.
I think that I have those skills now where I feel comfortable saying that.
Mm.
And, like maybe sometimes people need permission,
Yeah.
especially when they're old school and they're used to stuffing their feelings. And now
Mhm.
that I'm not stuffing my feelings, I don't mind saying and being honest and saying what's on my mind.
Right.
If you don't want to hear it, that's fine. You can choose. You're an adult. You can take it or leave it. But I
Yeah.
think it would be good for you.
Yeah. Well, they're in that age bracket where they might have friends, relatives who are passing away, because she just turned 70. So she just had literally six people. She realized that they had passed away, and some people that she was closer with that passed away. Like six people, like kind of like consecutively. And it's almost like now, obviously it was really hard for her, and brought to mind the fact that we're all mortals. Her mortality was kind of thought about. When certain friends of hers say they're ill, she gets kind of anxious.
Oh,
It almost kind of makes her, are you going to die? Like, are you okay?
yeah.
That kind of anxiety comes through.
Yeah, I feel like we have close friends, right? And at some point, we're all going to reach a certain age where we start to lose those close friends. I don't look forward to that. I've taken care of people that have had close friends and family, and they were quite a bit older, and they said, "Why am I still here?" This really is the most terrible thing when you lose your whole family and your friends, and you have nobody. I'm like, I'll be your
Mm.
somebody. It just
Mm-hmm.
breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
They're 100 years old and they're like, why am I still here? It's like all my family's gone, all my close friends are gone. I don't have an answer for them. You still have something that, you have to learn, and, we're learning from you. So that was the best answer I could give, that
Mm.
I enjoy you being here. I'm getting something out of it. I've enjoyed your stories. When I worked, got my CNA license, and I worked with adults in hospice. It wasn't the path I originally set out to do, but oh my gosh, what a gift. Because I met so many amazing people. And I remember my first case, I was still 18 and a senior in high school, and it was a 12-hour shift at assisted living with a dementia patient. And all I was told was he smokes, he
Mm.
has dementia, and he has a cat named Flash. That's all I was told. And
Three
that I need
things.
to the three things I was told. I'm like, okay. And he likes baseball, four things.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay. So I get to this assisted living and I see something go across my peripheral. And I'm like, that must be the cat. Okay. Perfect name then. And then I come in and it's all dark.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, he's still asleep. So I'm like looking around, evaluating, and I'm like, okay, I can't work in a space that's not organized and clean. So
Mm.
I just kind of organized and cleaned. And once he got up, I got him all ready. And this is my very first day being there 12 hours. I opened the blinds. We're going to bring in some light.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to open a window because being around smoke is not ideal for me, not
Mm.
something that I wanted to be around.
Yeah.
By the end of that night, I
Mm-hmm.
had everything cleaned, and that cat was sitting in my lap and we were watching baseball and getting to know each other. And
Mm.
he was telling me stories, and he didn't know my name, but he would call me Jonesy. He goes, "How's my Jonesy?" And I was with him until he passed, and I met his family, and we'd go out
Uh-huh.
on adventures. And it was my very first high school experience taking care of this gentleman. And what a blessing. And so it just kind of set me down this path of taking care of the elderly, some with dementia, some were hospice situations, and some
Mhm.
were, short term. But I worked for an agency, so I kind of got all sorts of situations, short term, long term,
How
and taught me so much.
Mhm. I mean, let's just give him a name of Bob or, how long were you with him?
His name was Ed.
Okay, how long were
um,
you with Ed?
I don't,
Do you
I
remember?
think he passed away by the time I graduated. So I think I came into his life probably January, and he had passed away by the time, like in like June.
Oh,
So very
so
short term. He was older. He was much older
yeah.
and got sick. And yeah,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was my first, like, okay, this feels like this could be my path. This feels like this is my purpose. I'm really
Mhm.
good at this. And I really enjoy hearing people's stories.
Yeah.
And they enjoy being around me as well. And so we're helping each other. And I just, it set me down this path for like 20 something years of taking care of the elderly, hearing their stories. I have so many cases where I was the only person holding somebody's hand when they passed.
Mm.
Or this one case wasn't even a hospice case. I came on and it was supposed to be just a couple of hours. And this gentleman was elderly. I was just supposed to kind of make him something to eat and hang out for a few hours, maybe do some light cleaning, and then go on to my next case.
Mm.
It ended up being a situation where I needed to stay. I sensed something wasn't quite right.
Mhm.
And so I called the agency and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, you stay. We'll call the daughter and she'll see if she can come." He
Mm.
just started telling me his whole life story.
Mhm.
He from the house that he lived in, the area that he lived in, what he did for a living, his wife, his whole life story. Like, he just needed to get this out, and he needed somebody to hear.
You're like, "Hold on, record."
I wish I would have. It.
I know.
I mean, what a gift for me to get to hear his whole
Mhm.
life. It was amazing. And this is how my path always went with my clients. I would hear their life stories, the history of where they live and grew up,
Mm.
and a lot of Portland history. So that was really, really cool for me. And they gave me such a gift. And so, with that being said, he all of a sudden just started like sleeping more,
Yeah.
and I noticed that he became comatose. The daughter was on her way. I was kind of doing with an agency. They would have a nurse come in because I'm a
Mm.
CNA, so I can do certain things. But I
Mhm.
was like, I think we need to have somebody kind of come in and check and stuff.
Yeah.
And so the daughter was on her way, and I forget which state she lived in, but by the time she arrived, she was
Mhm.
so grateful that I was there and that I saw something more going on. He woke up all of a sudden
Wow.
and was like, "I would like some creamy asparagus soup, and I'd like to go for a car ride." We looked at each other and we're like, "Okay." We're like, "All right." We're thinking that, he's at death's door and this is it. And not quite. So got him what he wanted, went for a car ride, and I just remember it was out in Hillsborough area, Farmington area.
Yeah.
And it was a gorgeous harvest moon. Him really enjoying it, and then bringing him back home, and he passed that night.
Oh,
Very interesting.
yeah.
Not all my hospice cases were like that. And I've heard stories since then that people can kind of get re energized, wake up from this coma like state,
Yeah,
and things like
that's
this will happen. In some cases, very true. People, when they're not with their loved ones when they pass, they want to know, did they go peacefully? Those are very common questions. And
Mhm.
as you know, when people are like transitioning,
Yeah.
it can be a scary time, and bringing comfort to people and just being there for them and talking about their loved one and hearing their stories, it helps you to deal with that transition of death because it's
Yeah.
very visceral.
Yeah. When I'm thinking about that transition, like, it could be a day before, it could be 6 months before a person actually dies. What a crucial period. like birth is crucial, and then you live your life, and then that last 6 months, that last 3 months, 2 weeks, and even the last day, it's like that's such a critical time. What a very important time in somebody's life.
Yeah, right? We celebrate births,
We celebrate birth, but
and
we don't do justice to the death portion, because it's like, because honestly, not enough, because and some do more than others, but it's like this person will one day uh not be able to breathe again. And so these are the last moments that this person is just like last words, last actions, last meals, last adventures.
right. And I think about that now as an adult that's, lived a life, and I think about what I would want. And you want to make the most of that time you have left. When you die unexpectedly, you don't have time. Like, there's all these wish I could have's, right? Anticipatory death is different. Death in general, especially unexpected, you don't get
Yeah.
to say those goodbyes.
Mm.
And you always wish, I know for me, I always wish I would have asked these questions. Oh man, I didn't get to ask these questions that I so want to know now. And
Mhm.
so with those clients, I would just listen to them, and they needed that. And it was just this beautiful way of them purging all these memories and stories and just passing it on. And storytelling is a part of life, right? I always felt privileged that I was a receiver of all these cool stories. Another interesting case, I didn't even get to the case because it was another hospice case. It was in Wilsonville, and I'm in Portland, and I'm driving down. I had a watch on, and all of a sudden my watch stopped. I'm like, that's weird. And then my phone rang. So I pull over and I call back. It's my agency. They say that so and so passed away. You don't have to come to the case. And I go, really? What time?
Mhm.
And they tell me, and it's a weird thing to ask, but I asked, for some reason, I asked it.
Mhm.
And sure enough, it was the same time my watch stopped at.
Oh wow. Like an analog
That's
watch?
like a wristwatch.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
old fashioned.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Like an old fashioned watch. Now, if that's not weird, I don't know. I mean, I never met this person. I wasn't connected to this person in any way. But this person was almost like spiritually going, you don't have to come. You're off the hook. You get the day
Mhm.
off.
Mhm.
Just interesting. I mean, just interesting how we are all connected by energy, right? Like we're all made up of energy. Your soul might leave your vessel, but we're still all around. And I do
Yeah.
feel like my loved ones are still around. They aren't here in the physical world, but I do feel their presence in many
Mhm.
different ways. I don't know. Everybody's going to have a different belief system, but for me, I always feel my loved ones. And a positive passing of a client that I had that
Mhm.
became family to me. She had such an amazing life, and she had me that was taking care of her, a wonderful daughter that was taking care of her. She lived a good life. She had all her needs met. She was in her 90s. And when she passed, she loved doing her makeup, so we did her makeup. We had music playing. We had her favorite stuffy. She had a little bit of dementia, so we had her favorite stuffed animal nearby. And we just made her transition from being here in this world to passing away amazing. That was the first experience that somebody dying, we
Yeah.
gave her everything that she needed to
Mhm.
transition. It was so beautiful. I still think about that. And we honored her birthday, and I still think about her, and I feel her presence with me all the time. I was telling you, it was my
Mhm.
birthday and you and I were out to brunch.
Yeah.
I always think of her. I always got her ready in the morning in her bathroom,
Mhm.
and we would have these amazing little conversations and little giggles. She became very much like a grandmother figure to me. I would get her ready, and she had these cute little ladybug socks on. I always remembered her with these cute little ladybug socks that we put on her to keep her warm. I just remember it being my birthday. Once a year, I get a visit from a ladybug in my bathroom. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. In the bathroom, a ladybug. Okay. And I think I was telling you this story on my birthday for some random reason. I was thinking about her when you and I went out to my car. There was a ladybug,
Mhm.
and it would not get out. It was in my trunk of my car in my hatchback, and it just hung out there. And I was like, oh. okay.
That was bizarre,
That
Jessica.
was bizarre, and I was like, "Okay, I'm just getting a little happy birthday from my loved one that had passed." I always kinda think of it like that. I'm
Mhm.
just like, they always make it known that they're always with me in some way or another.
Let me ask you this because you've dealt with death of people outside of your family way more than I have. And so, what do you think is most important to somebody in that position of being on hospice?
You mean, like, what
What
can a loved one do?
Yeah, like I'm wondering in the perspective what you saw and your observations, your interactions, what do you think is most important to the person who's dying
I think that
or to?
prior to, I think they wanna get their story out. I think really, like, writing these stories down or recording it, I think is a big deal for not only them to get out, but for you to be able to reflect back and listen to as a family member. So that's key number 1. They don't always want you there when they pass. They don't want you to remember them ill.
Mhm.
So they don't always like to pass when you're there.
Okay.
Oftentimes, I've noticed.
It's so sad.
That time everybody passes, and if you know that somebody's transitioning and it's expected, then I think there's things you can do. Play their favorite music. Like, talk about don't be afraid to talk about what do they want. If this
Yeah.
should happen, X, Y, and Z should happen, what would you like? What do you envision? But
Mhm.
also knowing that your, loved one is passing, playing their favorite music, maybe talking about some fun stories,
Mhm.
and usually you have somebody that comes to visit, like a hospice nurse or caretaker,
Yeah.
or a loved one that's there that's doing the caretaking. And I think giving permission, because sometimes it's hard to leave this world. I know I felt that with our dog passing. She didn't want to go.
Mhm.
It was hard to tell her that it's okay. I think telling them that it's okay, giving them permission.
When you say okay, you mean to say that it's okay, that we'll be okay without them here?
We'll be okay. Because I do think that we can be kind of selfish, right? Like, we don't want our loved one to go, but it's inevitable. We all go. And when you know that they're actively dying, I think telling them and giving them permission to go is
Mhm.
something they need to hear. We can't be so selfish that we want to just keep them around forever, because obviously you don't want them in a state like that. That's not who they're not there anymore. They are preparing to transition, and their physical body's there, but spiritually and mentally their soul is processing death. I think telling that you love them, telling them it's okay to go, telling fun stories. I think those are all positive things that we can do when somebody is transitioning in death. And when it comes to unexpected death, at the celebration of life or the memorial, the funeral, whatever you're holding, talking about fun stories really brings everybody together, because everybody has an interesting story that they've experienced with that loved one that has passed. And sometimes there's stories where this wasn't a good experience. And I think talking about it, I mean, maybe you don't have a funeral, but maybe you talk about it like, I remember this story,
Mhm.
and, you know, I don't want to honor this person because they weren't a great person. Well, then talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold a memorial, but you can talk about it. I think it's a good time to purge all this trauma and all these experiences. I think it's healthy to talk about, is what I'm trying to say.
If like a loved one is on hospice, I think people think it's morbid to talk about it. Hopefully you're free to talk open and honest to talk about whatever it is that's on your mind and whatever it is that's on your family member's mind or your loved one's mind. Maybe people think that they can't go there because they'll just end up sobbing all day long.
Right. It's okay to feel your feelings. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Because you probably won't be sobbing all day long. You'll probably have a few moments and then you can move on.
Right.
Yeah.
And people think it's taboo to laugh, or
Oh yeah.
it's not. It's human. It's okay, because you're thinking about a funny thing that they did. I just remember at my grandma's celebration of life, the naked bike riders rode by at her celebration of life, and I
Mhm.
just started cracking up with my family members. It was just so funny,
Mhm.
because if you know my grandma, she wasn't a jokester.
Yeah, she would
But
have had a
I thought it was hilarious,
I
and
would
so
have
did my family members. I was just like, okay.
yeah, that would have been hilarious.
So, it's okay to laugh and tell jokes and talk about your loved ones and tell stories, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be all serious. Everybody grieves in their own way.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. If you need to take some time to grieve and cry, get it out. Like what I'm saying is don't suppress it, grieve
Yeah.
it. Because if you
Yeah.
don't grieve it, it's always going to be there and it's going to come back and haunt you if you don't process death.
I think like if this is somebody you love, you won't have this opportunity. I don't know if I'm getting so emotional. I'm so sorry.
I know, Debbie.
It's like you might as well just sob and get the cries out because you won't have this opportunity to do it with that other person.
Right. And you know what's really difficult, and I think why you're probably having a hard time is because we've had family and loss where, yes, they're gone, but we're not super sad about it. And you feel guilty about that because they weren't a good person. You still grieve the what ifs or the what could have beens. I think that for you, if you're feeling like talking about it, losing your dad was one of those situations that was complicated and
It was,
does make you feel a certain way.
yeah, it does. I'm also thinking about we're all at that age, like in your 40s, you're at that age where your parents are older.
Yeah.
So you can anticipate, right? You can say to yourself, oh my gosh, I only have 10 more good years. You never know when people are going to actually die, if especially if they're in pretty good health. So you just kind of think ahead and you're like, I have so many good years with this person. It doesn't have to be a taboo subject. I mean, it's an eventuality. We all have to deal with it. How can we best deal with it and live the next 10 years and have memories with this person so that we have less regret? I mean, we're always going to regret certain aspects.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think for me too,
Yeah.
those difficult relationships that you have, if you can heal it, like when I talk about like passing, I talk about my dad. He's in and out of the hospital. He has early stages of dementia. I've healed a lot of stuff. You just learn to forgive and start afresh
Yeah.
and make the best of things. It's like, yeah, I don't know how I'll feel when he passes. It's not going to be a sense of relief. I'll
Yeah.
feel sad. I'm sad that he didn't heal those traumas. He could have been this healthy, different version of himself. Maybe wherever he goes next, maybe he will be that, I hope.
Mm.
What's been very healing for me is the relationship we have now and just going over there showing pictures of the kids and just chatting, and it's nice. It was very healing for me and I needed that. And not everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah.
I think if anything, if you have this anger towards somebody that was a terrible parent,
Mhm.
letting it go for yourself. You don't have to reconnect. No one ever says you have to reconnect by
Mhm.
any means because
Mhm.
you don't owe them that. And there's boundaries that definitely have to be in place. But
Yeah.
if you choose to,
Yeah.
and you choose to forgive and it feels safe and okay to do so, gosh, it's healing. And it could be healing for you if you just let these things go. I've talked about this prior, in other episodes.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what forgiveness meant. I'm not forgiving him. I'm forgiving me because I need it for me.
Mhm.
And it's time to move on and not focus on it because I was just carrying it around and it wasn't doing me any good. And I think that people do struggle with a loved one or somebody that they didn't care for because they were terrible. They struggle with that guilt. And I think it's okay. That's human nature. And you don't have to do this celebration of life. You don't have to do a funeral. You can say, this person was not the best person, but here we are. And you'll find that. I'll find comedic obituaries where
Really?
they will state some interesting things like, this person was X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wow, you put their business out there, but like, hey,
Mhm.
you told the truth.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, I mean, good for you for if it's cathartic and getting it out there, great. But,
Mhm.
what about those that we love? Or, I've had a lot of loss, not naturally. Sometimes it's been by suicide and in our family. And that's really devastating to a family when you have somebody that dies by suicide. My uncle passed that way. He was an amazing drummer and he struggled with schizophrenia. When you have mental illness and you're trying to manage that or not managing it, it really like affects the whole family when there's mental illness involved. He struggled with schizophrenia for a lot of years, and he'd be on his meds, he'd be off his meds,
Mm.
and he didn't like the way it made him feel. And he was this talented drummer, and I miss him all the time, and I think about him all the time. And I'm sad that he left this world in a way that I wouldn't have chosen for him to leave.
Right.
It affected the whole family. It devastated the whole family. And I don't think people talk about that either. People don't talk about when a loved one commits suicide. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Or I've had family that are not necessarily family, but like family. My dad's good friend that was like family died of a drug overdose. Didn't even know he did drugs. Knew he was a drinker. Knew he drank alcohol, but very sweet man. Died of a drug overdose. And my dad had to go identify him, and how devastated my dad was because he was like a brother to my dad. And just so much loss. And
Yeah.
how do you process that? I'm hearing this as a kid, and I'm going through this as a kid and trying to process and figure out death and dying, and losing grandparents. My grandfather died when I was 12, and I was really close with him. And just all these sad things where, you grow up and you have all these questions and you don't have anybody to ask. And I was privileged enough to have my grandparents for quite some time. There's questions now that I've had kids that I wish I could have asked, or stories I wish I would have been told. And,
Right.
they're not here. I feel their presence. And my uncle, he passed in my early 20s, and I always feel his presence.
Mm.
I always feel him around. He leaves me little pennies. I always know he's with me because my sister and I were like his girls. He had 2 sons, and so we were his girls, and he was my fun uncle on my mom's side, and he was a prankster and a jokester, and, such an amazing person.
I
And,
mm,
people didn't acknowledge that enough.
I think that when you have a loved one die by suicide, I don't even know how you'll go about that grieving process.
Yeah. I think you have to rely a lot on prayer and
Yeah.
people getting you through it.
Yeah. I can't logically understand how you deal with death by suicide of a loved one. You don't have them anymore, so they're gone. And so you have a lot of unanswered questions, maybe unresolved issues. What do? You still have to live each and every day. You have to live the best life that you can live because you don't want to live without any regrets either. I think that you would need a lot of support. There just would be a lot of unresolved stuff, I think.
The thing with my uncle is how I grieved and processed was I knew he struggled so bad, and that had he been in a better frame of mind, he would not have made that choice.
Mhm.
He was hurting so bad, and that he just couldn't do it anymore. And he
Yeah.
made that ultimate choice, which is devastating.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like he's in a better place,
Yeah.
that he is mentally healthy. I don't think anybody that's in a healthy spot would make those choices, right?
Mhm.
Like, you have to be in a spot where you just have no more hope.
Yeah.
You've tried and tried and tried. I just have nothing but empathy. I try to put myself in his shoes, and the resources were not there as much as they are now. We don't It was very taboo to talk about.
Yeah.
I think that we have a lot of resources now, and it's a work in progress because I still think that mental health is not addressed as much as it should be in this country or worldwide. It's very taboo to talk about, but I think we need to talk about it. It wasn't his fault he was given a mental illness. He had struggled with that. When he was doing good, he was amazing.
Yeah. So, in the empathy, do you think that obviously you have to pick up the pieces? If you die by suicide, those individuals might have a lot of unresolved things, a lot of things that you have to resolve for them. So, you would just do it in that place of empathy of like, okay, what would he want me to do? What would he do if he was alive? And then tie everything up. Like, because like there's a lot of things that you have to figure out. I remember when my dad died unexpectedly. Okay, well, what are we gonna do with this that he owned and that he owned, and who do we need to contact to let them know that he's no longer here? Like, all these little pieces that somebody has to pick up if they're able to notify people, get sell, donate, whatever their belongings, I guess you're just gonna have to do it in a place of empathy. Who would they want to have been notified, etc., right? I mean, there's just all the practical concerns,
Yeah, and
let
that's
alone all the emotional issues.
a lot of responsibility, and it's hard to grieve when you're doing all those mechanical things, right?
Can't. Yeah.
It's hard. You really do have to make time after you get all those mechanical things done to grieve. Therapy, like, I can't stress therapy enough, or support groups.
Mhm.
Everybody's gone through something. Death is everybody's experienced it, and if you haven't, you will.
Yeah.
And having support and talking about it is very healthy, no matter how difficult it is for people to hear, because sometimes people don't want to hear about it.
Mm-mm.
They shoo you away and they don't want to talk about it because it's just too painful, right?
Yeah.
You got to find people that are willing to listen. A person at your church, praying about it, therapy, all these things will help you. Confiding in somebody you trust. It's hard to share these stories.
Looking from the outside in, we have all these raw emotions when somebody passes, right? You need support because you're in a vulnerable state. You have all kinds of emotions. Maybe you're sad, you feel guilty, you feel anger, you feel frustrated, you feel all the whole gamut. Maybe you think about happy moments. So you have all these emotions across the spectrum, and raw emotions, by the way. And so I think the processing through therapy, through support, through talking about it, maybe writing about it, is just like, how are you going to make sense of these emotions?
Right.
Or because they'll always just be raw unless you
Right.
kind of take a moment and take the time to make sense of what this all means, and then, like, it's like digest them, so to speak.
Right. I mean, some of these things I've never really talked about with friends. Like, friends don't even know that. It just didn't come up. If it comes up, I'll talk about it, obviously. It was hard for my family. They're not people that talk about their feelings. So you can imagine, as a little kid, there was no therapy for me. I had to process as a kid death very early on. And
Yeah.
not just once, but several times. Once the funeral was over, it was not talked about. They weren't honored every year. They weren't talked about. It just didn't exist. It was really healing for me when I had a client that her death in transition was done beautifully, and honoring her celebration of who she was every year. It was healing to
Hmm.
talk about it and to say what a wonderful person she was. And it made me think about, like, what I would hope that, people, like, if you need to, grieve, I don't want it to be a sad occasion. I lived a good life, and when it's my time to go, it's my time to go.
Hmm.
I want it to be a celebration that, I lived life to the fullest. And I'm trying to live life to the fullest. I'm learning what that is because I haven't lived life to the fullest. So I hope by the time that I go that you can celebrate that, yes, be sad because you won't have me, in the physical world, but know that I'm in a good place and I'll always be watching over you. And you'll
Hmm.
know that I'm there. You'll feel that I'm there. And so I think that's okay to talk about, and in the things that I want. And I think talking about, like, what you want
Hmm.
if you pass, I think it's important. I think it's very taboo and people don't want to talk about it, but I think you have to, when you have kids, you have to, like, have something in place. I don't want to be a burden. I
Yeah.
don't want that to be put on my children or my husband. Like, what if I should pass before everybody? What did mom want? Did she want a funeral service? So I state very early on, this is what I want,
Which is,
which for me, I don't want to be cremated. I
yeah.
can't give you a valid reason why. It just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah.
I like the idea of being turned back into soil and decomposition naturally.
Hmm.
And or there's other things where you can be planted as like in a tree pod kind of thing, a natural burial
Yeah.
situation.
No,
I don't
no
want to be
casket.
buried. I
No
don't want a
casket.
casket. I don't want to
Yeah.
be buried somewhere because that's not where I'm at. I want to be soil, sounds very appealing to me. Everywhere all at once.
What people do is, they call a funeral service. I don't even know what they do there, to be honest, but I do know cremation is one of them, and then if they're doing like an open casket, then they'll get you dressed and put makeup on you and get the body ready. And I'm like, that doesn't appeal to me
I
either.
don't like
I
that.
don't need that.
I don't want that.
I don't need that for my body.
My family knows that I do not want that.
Okay.
Do a celebration. I would really love you guys to wear like fun colors and like play some of our favorite songs, dance and have good food. You know I'm a foodie, so have some good food and
Have some
talk
good
about
food.
memories and laugh and yes, you can cry. All of those things are great if
Hmm.
that's what you need, but I don't really need it.
Hmm.
You can do a little thing where you take the soil and take me to the beach and the perfect. I don't care. Like I'm no longer here. I'm
I mean, it's definitely important to know what your loved one wants as far as the
yeah.
ultimate end, right? Like, how do they want to be buried and all that stuff. But then I'm also wondering, like, leading up to that, what do they want? Because they might not be in a mental space to be able to make those decisions for themselves. Like the 6 months leading up to is also, I think, a good thing to discuss too. Because you never, it's birth is death is like birth. You can try to plan it out, but it's not going to always go according to plan. Somebody might have somebody might be on hospice for 6 months, or it could be 2 months, or it could be a week.
I agree. I think you have to have conversations about what you want when you pass away early, like, your 50s. Like, talk or like even earlier if you feel comfortable, but it's been very taboo. People don't talk about it. But like, what do you want? Like, I've asked my husband, what does he want? I've asked my kids, what do they want? That's a hard question to ask your children what they want, but I didn't know. What do they want? So I now know what they
Mhm.
prefer. My daughter's very similar to me. My son, I don't think he's really thought about it, doesn't think about it too much. My husband, he cracks me up. He wants a Viking burial. He wants to be put on a platform and sent out to sea with instead of fire. I'm like, absolutely not.
Is that even legal?
No. But I mean, I like his thinking. I mean, I can try my best. I don't think it's
Okay.
legal.
So plan B then, right, for him?
Like, there has to be a plan B, buddy, because that's a little morbid for me. I'm like, I'm not gonna happen for me. I want to
Okay.
give you your wishes.
I have a similar thought too with your husband, is that I don't need a casket like you, and I don't need to be made up or dressed or anything, because the body is going to decompose. So I don't mind being cremated.
Okay.
I don't mind being cremated. I'd rather actually do that, because then, it's probably less expensive too, but cremation. And then I don't know why I have this thought that, like, I don't necessarily want a celebration of life or anything. I don't I I just don't see that for myself. But obviously my family members can do what they choose to do and what feels good to them. And it's sort of having like a memorial service or what have you. But my thought, or for whatever reason, I had this thought and I continually go to it, is that like it although I'm not a water person, so I don't know why I keep thinking about this, but like at like early in the morning, whoever's in charge gathers early in the morning, and it's just, you know, people come on their own volition, like, okay, this is when this is going to happen, you come, if you can make it, come. And like, I don't know why I'm thinking of a little canoe. I'm thinking of a little canoe early, like at dawn, and then just spreading my ashes in the water.
That sounds nice. They actually do that in Hawaii.
But like, I'm not even a water person, so I don't even know why I'm thinking of water.
Who cares? It's what you want.
I know, it's kind of like contradictory to what I'm a very much a land person, and I'm not super comfortable in the water, but I'm just like, maybe it's just something to do with taking me back to nature. I've always envisioned, like, I don't know why, but like the canoe in the water at dawn, and then just like spreading my ashes in the water. That's what I've
Well, it
envisioned.
sounds beautiful. Dawn is a beautiful time. That's one of my favorite times, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think the same thing. I'm like either dawn or sunset. I just want to be at the ocean. The ocean is my happy place, but so are the woods. And so, like, I'm obviously my vessel. That's my vessel.
Yeah.
And how beautiful to be in both of my favorite locations, but also to be everywhere. So I like the idea of being everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And that feels like everywhere to me. So I'm with you. I like the water and I like the woods and I want to be everywhere. So sprinkling my soil everywhere, or if you want to take some soil and plant a tree so it brings life into the world again,
What do you mean
I'm
by
good with
soil
that
though?
too.
Like, are you talking about
Like,
topsoil?
like literally, I'm turned into soil. Uh
Oh, you
huh.
mean afterwards?
Uh huh.
Or okay, so
Yeah. It's a
how does that
natural
work?
decomposition. They have a place in Seattle area that
Mm,
does natural decomposition. I can give
mhm.
you information if you're interested.
I think you did share with me the
I
website.
just like a more natural way of going. I like that's just more appealing to me. I don't know why cremation creeps me out, but I think I've seen one too many scary movies where the person wasn't actually dead and they were getting cremated alive. And I'm like, nope, I'm out. Not only that, I've been to a crematorium for a field trip.
Yeah.
Not mor- that's not morbid. I had to do it in high school for my health class, and I'm like, okay, nope, I'm out.
Oh my
Not for
God,
me.
horrible.
Not for me. I'm like, and I don't like the idea. Like, I never enjoy when we go to a funeral and there's an open casket. I've had to do this several times, and
Me
I
too.
don't, it's not them. It doesn't feel like them. It doesn't look like them. It doesn't make, it just, I was like, it's not my favorite thing. I like more celebrations of life where we tell
Mhm.
stories and things like that. But I don't need that. But if somebody needs to do that, and
Mhm.
then make it fun. Then if
Yeah.
that'll be my little thing, then dress up in your favorite outfit and put on the fun music that we like to sing to and eat the favorite foods that I like.
Mhm.
And that's what
Ooh,
you need. Say some stories and have some photos of us all or share photos and stories. Perfect.
very memorable. It sounds like that would be a very memorable time, don't you think?
I
Like
think so.
help them to grieve in a like that's almost and you don't know what could happen that day. They could be laughing and crying and so yeah.
It's okay. It's normal to know that we're not going to be able to physically touch our loved one. That's hard. Like I will miss if I don't go before friends and family, I will miss them.
Mhm.
Talking with them every day. Not that I can't talk to them spiritually, but
Mhm.
you know what I mean in the physical world. I'll miss seeing them and talking with them and having a conversation on a daily basis and receiving feedback and, hugs and stuff like that in person. It's just different. We always joke about like if I pass, you'll know. Like
Mhm.
if you cremate me, you'll know because I'll be come back. I'll haunt your ass.
You know what's funny? I have thought about this before. It's like I obviously you're gonna miss your loved one. That's like a very obvious thing, but like just I think as in this lifetime, like before you transition and then you die, is that you'll miss like I don't know, like some of the things that you take for granted, like the blue skies and the fluffy clouds that you get to see not today, but like on a beautiful day.
Yeah, I agree with
You
you.
won't see that anymore in this body. So
I agree. Really do. That is one thing in life I've never taken for granted is my breath. My breath of fresh air that I breathe in every day, looking at the sky, the night sky, the day sky, just listening with my ears. I mean, what a gift. I mean, that's already a gift that I'm given that I get to see with my own eyes. I
yeah.
get to hear with my own ears. Not everybody has that gift.
Hmm.
So I don't take that for granted. I really am in touch with all my senses. Death is hard. We have to talk about what we want ahead of time
Hmm.
so people know what our wishes are. I think that we have to not make it taboo. I
Yeah.
think we have to grieve and process. It's healthy, not suppress it. um yeah, that's my takeaway. And
Yeah. And I will say, for my part, I will say this: like, this is a very heavy subject. It's gonna make you vulnerable. It's gonna bring tears to your eyes. But again, talking about it and planning for it is better than not planning for it and not talking about it either before or after. And I think we'll need a part two.
yeah, join us next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We are all about community. Join our community by following and subscribing to Be On It through YouTube, Instagram, and of course your podcasting platform so we can continue to bring Be On It to you. Just so you know, this is for entertainment purposes only. We are speaking from our lived experiences and are not licensed therapists.